So I have to tell you, so it's interesting just knowing you and your heart because you're a good person. And that's,
Don't ruin my bad reputation.
well, I know, but then I'm shocked when I watch these movies. I'm like, who is this?
Yeah.
I said to Clayton, I can't believe this is Esai. I don't understand because you play a villain in a lot of your movies.
Really? You think?
How did that happen?
Well,
And do you get into character? That's what I keep wanting to ask you. Because you know how Heath Ledger was like a,
in Batman, he was the Joker.
but he says he puts himself in those roles. Do you do that?
You know, you get trained to be able to do that. It's called method acting.
Yeah.
You know, where you try to live out
Yeah.
the character as much as possible. But sometimes it's not so far. Sometimes you don't have to go that deep to go dark.
Yeah.
And it depends on your own life experience. You know, if you grew up under punches, if you grew
Yeah.
up under abusive conditions, or just the times where, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but when I was a kid, getting beaten was a sign that your parents cared about you.
Well, yeah, I got spanked with a belt
Yeah.
and everything. It was just part of being.
But let's keep our love lives out of here. I'm talking about when you were a kid, right? Are we
Yeah.
talking about the same thing?
I don't know.
Clayton, she's telling.
Wait a minute. What are we talking about? No.
I'm just wrong.
So,
Sorry.
that was
sorry.
wrong. That was like something Clay would say, or Ted,
I
or,
love
or
these.
Patrick.
You're surrounded by the coolest guys.
I work with really great
and you're
guys.
married
And-
to an amazing one. So
and I get to be friends with great
thank you.
great guys like you.
You're sweet.
So
So yeah, I don't have to go too far, I think, to find, you know, and it's a tough thing because
but killing people,
yeah,
That goes-
I have issues killing ants and flies.
I know
I'm
because
like,
you've
"Oh,
told me that
sorry."
one time.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Remember, I was telling you. You probably don't remember, but I was telling you that a mouse died and it hurt me to watch the mouse die, and you said you understood that. We were having drinks, so I don't know if you remember.
No.
Wasn't he s- but you
was
said
it at
it about-
the Waldorf Astoria one?
Yeah,
Or-
you said
yeah.
you were the same way. And
Yeah,
that's-
because it's like, what did that mouse, ant, fly, even mosquito do? Now, mosquitoes and I have a contentious relationship because more humans are killed by mosquitoes.
I don't
than
really like mosquitoes.
any other
I don't like
thing.
spiders either, to be honest.
Well, but spiders can be your friends.
I know they
Spiders eat
can.
mosquitoes and other things. It just depends.
But I had Lyme disease, so like ticks and
Yeah.
spiders and stuff are a little bit easier. I think spiders are different than like a mosquito. I don't feel guilty when I kill a mosquito. I have to say that.
I don't feel guilty when I kill a mosquito, but
an
actually,
ant-
sometimes I'm like, that's a mother. You know, the
I
bad
know.
ones are the ones that suck your blood for their kids.
But you know what? Then in a movie, if you're killing a bad person, maybe because like you look at the Bible. I'm just being honest. They
Yeah.
used to kill people in the Bible.
They still do. The Bible's still killing people.
I know the Bible. They're still killing people, but I think sometimes I understand when bad people die in a movie. But what if you're killing good people?
But how about this? What's a bad person?
That's sometimes what I struggle with. You don't know for sure.
I don't-
And bad people can have good in them.
All bad people do.
Yeah,
And all good people have
have bad in them. Yeah.
And I think our mission in life is to keep one ahead of the other, to learn from that which doesn't serve you and or the greater good,
Yeah.
and to regulate your emotions. I think the sign of civilization is he or she who can regulate their intense feelings. And so I still have to work on it sometimes. Sometimes things trigger you. And there's
Do you
also
lose your temper?
sometimes I do, and it's really it's with the closest people around me. The people who should know you the best. You're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah. That's the truth for me too. I don't usually lose my temper unless I'm close to someone.
Yeah, because you could be nice to everyone. The saintly. No, it's okay, it's fine. But the person who knows you most, who should know better, says the stupidest things to you, especially about yourself. You're like, who are you? Like, it hurts. It anger comes from pain.
Yeah, it does. It
Right?
does. I get angry when people aren't the best they can be. Even like I just think we all have so many gifts. So
Yeah.
like I would say with my kids, with the people closest to me, I'm like, they should be the best they can be
Yeah.
because
I didn't raise you to be like
Yeah.
lazy in that sense.
And it's harder. Like I think I was interviewing Kat Cora earlier. She was won the Iron Chef, and she's an amazing person. But she was talking about how raising boys. They have 6 boys.
Oh my God!
And how
I have one girl. I cannot imagine.
Well,
I
I
used to
gotta
want
tell
boys.
you, the one girl, I have 3 boys and a girl. The one daughter has been that. She's amazing, but it's harder for me.
Well,
yeah.
for especially women, because especially when they're raised by men, because it's just different. I think the relation with the mother-daughter can become very contentious because
Oh, yeah.
just my theory, please correct me if I'm wrong, she has to shed you as her skin.
Yeah, because she doesn't want to be just like you.
Well, I mean, we all become, for better or for
know.
worse, kind of just like our parents, but they have to develop their own identity,
Yeah,
and you're the stumbling block.
yeah.
And yes, you're right. They don't want to be just like you.
But
They get this
they've got a lot of
attitude.
you. You're right, though. It's such a great point. Like even for me, I look back at my parents and I think all the things that I thought were wrong, now I understand a little bit better.
Yes.
And I'm a lot like them in a lot of ways, actually. You know?
And I think it's our mission in life to stop the cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
Yet,
So going back to
yeah.
that, you and I were both spanked, and I don't want my parents to watch this and think I think they were bad because they were
No.
great parents.
No.
But you know,
Spare
now,
the rod, spoil the child. We talked about that.
Now, if you spank a child,
It's grounds for incarceration.
incarceration. But I got to tell you, so one of my
And they know that.
they know that.
And then the next thing you know, you get that girl, catch me outside. What you going to do to
Yeah.
their own parents? I'm like, excuse me, you can't slap your child, but I want to.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't
'cause-
like to hit people. I'm not
no.
Oh,
But the problem is if you've never been disciplined, and of course, I know there's different ways to discipline, but one of my best friends and I were talking about this week. You can tell kids that have never been disciplined because they're not scared of anything, and which is great. You don't want to scare them, but you need to make sure that they at least care about humanity and what to do.
consequences.
Yeah.
How about this one, if I may? Our religious doctrines say, you should be God-fearing. And I always didn't understand that. I'm like, I don't fear God. I love God. I don't want to fear God. But there comes a point where there's a little fear of the awesome power and of going astray. And you don't want to make an enemy or disappoint the Creator, whatever she may be.
You don't want to like for me. If you ask me, I do have a fear of God.
I think there's a
that's
healthy fear.
It's healthy. I don't buy into like when I went to church and then saying I'm going to go to hell every time
damnation.
I have a drink or dance. Like I don't believe in any of that. But I do have a
Dirty
fear.
dancing? I don't know.
I don't know.
Sorry. I'm ADD Esai Morales. Have
I
you
don't
noticed?
know if I don't think that makes you go to hell.
I'm still trying to figure out what hell is because I've always wondered if you have a loving, caring God who knows you're going to make
That's
mistakes.
what I try to figure out.
Who
Yeah.
knows you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Who's designed you
You're here to make mistakes, actually,
to
and
learn from them, right?
Yeah.
At what point do you go, okay, you just stepped over the line, forever hell burn?
That's how I feel. I'm like, how does that even happen? Where do you go there?
And if you go to hell and your skin burns off, what's left? You're done. You're like, I don't know. The concept of burning in hell forever seems to me to be something that you taught lesser evolved people so that they would be afraid of sinning.
Yeah, because I feel the same way. I feel like God put us here to learn lessons, and some of us don't learn those lessons as effectively as we should. Let's say all of us don't, right? Because we all fail. So
Yeah.
then what happens, and my answer to that is, I don't know, but I don't think he sends you somewhere where your whole life you're burning.
I mean,
Do you
at
know-
a certain point, burning doesn't mean anything.
No, you don't
it's
feel
like
anything
pain.
after
like,
that. Yeah.
Like, what's the point of burning someone forever? That doesn't make sense to me. It seems like certain of our religious texts are the ill-preserved records of God-knowing men.
I feel the same way.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, let's,
I feel the same way.
where it's, I feel awkward, even though I'm far beyond my days of being like, mass-marketed, wokey kind of, like, what is it, trendy,
Yeah.
religious feelings. I don't like even referring to God as a man.
We just had a talk about this we had Leah
I feel like
Ray.
it's limiting God.
Yeah, no, we just did Leah Ray. She was a gospel singer, and led a lot, like major churches, Rick Owens Church, Saddleback, all the, and she married Captain Sandy from the lady that is on the television show.
Okay.
And they canceled all of her singing engagements, all of her
Because?
religious, because she came out as loving a woman.
Okay.
And she said, and we talked about how do you know if it's a man or a woman, and she said, I just think it's I am, like he's everything, and that's what or he or she,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
is everything.
We're used to saying he, and I
Yeah.
don't mind it, but I catch myself going.
But if you
because-
think about this, she made a great point. Like
Okay.
her dad died
Mm,
during COVID, and when you die, it's just your soul.
That's right.
Right? It's not like it's your soul. It's
Yeah.
not like a female male part.
well, we only need to differentiate between male and female to procreate. That's
Yeah,
really
it's
the
for
only
procreation.
reason. But
Yeah.
also, I think men and women have different strengths that complement each
Yeah, I
other.
do too.
And
I do
we
too.
were like yin yang.
Yeah.
Not that one is more important than the other, but we are different, and I celebrate those differences. I don't want to erase them, and I feel like I run into trouble in the Hollywood group mindset that says, "Wait a minute, so you think you're better than women because you're a man?" I'm like, no.
No, but you're different.
We're different.
Yeah. I think you come with certain traits that are different, and I hate that we can't even recognize that anymore. And it's not that everyone's the same. You know, I don't think that. I think
Right.
everyone's different, and there's a variation. But I don't believe that you're going to hell because you believe one way and not another. And if you ask me why I don't believe that, and I know a lot of Christians listening to this would disagree with me,
Mhm.
I don't feel like I have the right to make that judgment,
Right.
and I feel like none of us do.
Well, the gay issue, there's one. I'm Christian, but I'm not Orthodox Christian. I'm not like hardcore, any organized. I just know that I feel a presence.
That's how I am.
And the quieter I get, the louder it gets.
Yeah.
So
The more
there's a-
you're alone, he or she, they're talking.
Yeah, its voice is so much more present, even if it's your own voice talking.
So
to
I
you.
have a question.
Yes.
Then why do people get so mad if you don't believe exactly the way they believe? Like
I'll
when
tell
I'm
you.
doing podcast, I'm worried about the
Offending,
audience
yeah.
because they don't want to hear me say what I believe.
I think we covered this before. I'm not sure, but I believe in God, whatever that may be, so much that I believe in your right not to.
Yeah, that's how I
I'd
am.
I respect more an honest atheist or agnostic than a disingenuous, person of faith.
So why do the people sometimes that are
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
My theory.
We haven't talked about this, by the way.
My theory is that if I apply my heart and soul into something, whether it's quitting cigarettes
Or coffee.
or coffee or alcohol, okay, whether it's, and I've done this, right? And I see you drinking, it's like, you buy into something. So if you believe in a specific religion, right? And someone else doesn't, the person that believes in that religion feels stupid in a sense, or they feel like, well, you think I'm stupid, but you don't, like, because most people, when you don't agree with them, it's because you're not buying what they're selling. You're like,
Yeah.
and there's something that I think threatens the ego of the believer.
Then why doesn't it threaten me? Because I think I
Because-
have an ego, but it doesn't bother me.
But you're healthy. I think there's a healthy. I'm the same way. I believe in God so much that if it's really faith, your lack of it won't shake mine.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
And I respect your lack of it because you can only believe when you really do.
Right. So if someone doesn't, then that's their honest belief.
And that's their path.
right.
I didn't always believe, and I believed because I was told first when you're a kid, this is the way it is. But then you learned this isn't always the way it is, or there are difference. Like, hang on, there are exceptions. Like, what? So you learn to question, even in the Bible. Jesus, this question things.
Yeah.
So when you grow up in a Catholic, environment where it says shut up and pray, like,
Yeah.
just don't worry about it because why? But why? The million whys. You have to, like, there comes a point where you can't parse everything, and you go, okay, I don't know all the answers, but I do know that someone loves me.
Yeah.
And that one may be a group, may be amorphous, like that one and the angels it's created. Like, there's a trinity that says 3 in 1. Like,
Yeah.
there's a duality or triune, like there's more dimensions to all this. So I try not to walk too heavy when I talk about my faith. I go, well, this is what I believe and what I feel, because every time I pray, and I tell this to my friends all the time, I go, every time I pray, my prayers get answered. Not always the way I want them to.
But they get answered.
They get answered.
That's how mine are.
And this is the thing, is when I don't get what I pray for, often I look back and I go, oh, thank you.
Me too. I think I told you this, I used to say, there went through a period in my life where things were going really, really well. And I forgot to say, dear God, your will, because so I'm like, I just feel this, and this happened when I was little, this overwhelming sense of love, so that nothing else around me really mattered. So the people that were, it matters when you get hurt, right?
Yeah, but there's a grace. You feel like you're surrounded by
right.
goodness.
So I have that, but that was my path, and I understand like my 4 children did not have that same path. We're all different. So I don't even get upset. My kids all have different beliefs and different processes and beliefs. And at one point it did bother me. And then I realized, why am I getting upset with my children for not believing the way I believe? I've brought my kids up to know how they believe and to figure that out in their journey. I feel comfortable because it makes me feel happy to feel like there's someone that loves me unconditionally, that I don't need approval from all these people on this earth,
There you go.
which is a gift,
Yes.
right? So I feel that gift, but I also feel like I've had to remind myself numerous times that I don't know best. I don't have the answers. And any time that I have had an ego or arrogance to think that I do, God or the universe, however you want to say it, has reminded me, Christina, you don't have the answer.
Slow your roll.
You're one person here, right?
Yeah.
And you have.
But you're humble enough to recognize
Oh
that.
yeah.
And you have. That's why humility is so
Yeah.
important. So I don't trust people who are like, this is how it is, and this. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. The mind is powerful, and the way we condition our society is very pliable. And some things aren't as natural as they seem.
They're not, and I have to tell you. So, as my first background, I think you know, was a psychologist,
Oh, right.
and I, in classes that I went, I remember sitting there and them talking about the differences in men and women, and also talking about the fact that a lot of men have had some kind of, and women, but more men, because men are sexual at a younger age usually, as far as experimentation. They've been exposed to both, and then a lot of times they will, not a lot of times, sometimes they can condition, something happens, and they condition to think that's they have a different thought process or belief.
Oh, that's their destiny.
But that maybe isn't, right? Maybe it just was one thing that happened.
Yeah. Or a series of them.
A series of things, but that's not what
doesn't mean who you are.
Yeah.
Even if you enjoyed it, let's just
But
say.
on the flip side of that, if someone falls in love with someone of that sex, and they
Of the
really
same sex, you mean.
have the same sex, and they really fall in love with them,
How can you deny that?
how can you deny that? I don't have the right, in my opinion, to make that decision.
You know, I hear so much stuff and we take it as
I know
gospel.
you do. I know you do, because let me tell you, the more, and I try to tell my friends this, the more you travel, the more experiences you're around, the more you're around. Like, we just got back from Italy. We went to Andre Bocelli's. It was great.
I was there in London. We went to the Bocelli concert.
It was so great. I just think he has one of the most beautiful voices
in the... Do you want to see my hair standing
No, it's
up
like
right
talking
now?
about God singing through
Hair
someone.
standing
I know, me
up
too.
right now.
I mean, it was just beautiful.
Nessun Dorma and the one from the commercial, you know, the pasta commercial.
Oh, yeah.
Was so famous.
No.
And then guess who showed up? Seal. Hans Zimmer played the theme to Interstellar, and it just had me like in tears.
Same with us. They had so many people show up because he grows such an audience. Like, they had David Foster there.
Oh, I know David. Oh my God! Look at my hello. This is real.
Look, it was beautiful. Laura Daigle. I mean, I could go on and on. It was beautiful, and I said that was one of the most amazing experiences. Talk about someone that you can feel God, you know, or something in love in his voice. It's just amazing. But it's fascinating to me to be a part of hearing so much gossip too in those environments, or theories, right? And trying to figure out what's right or wrong. And I have to tell you, one of the hardest things I have now with close friends, even if I'm around a certain actor or actress, and they'll say, well, you know, they sold their soul to the devil, or they did. And I'm like, how do you know that? Did you read that? Like, I've had people You say I've had people say things about me that are absolutely not true.
I thought you were going to say me. I was like,
No.
really? Pray tell. I like to hear gossip about
I
myself.
haven't yet about you.
Some of it is actually true. Oh
Some
my
of
God.
it-
How do they know that? But the majority isn't. But that's the
The
funny
majority
part.
isn't though, and what's hurtful. And I can tell you, I'm not famous like you, but our company's grown.
You're famous.
and no, not at all. But our
You're
influence has grown, and then
famous
people make
and
up stuff.
rich.
People,
I'm just famous and
I'm not
you know,
rich.
comfortable. Like I'm not in the
Do you
street.
understand my point? People make up things that are absolutely not true, and then what defense do you have against it? There's not a defense.
And the more you deny it, the more like,
yeah.
you protest too much.
I mean, so
But
you're,
I'm not.
You're
I'm not gay. Really, I'm not gay. If you run around the world telling everyone I'm not gay, everyone looks at you and go, sure.
Yeah, because everyone assumes that everyone in acting, for example, or music, is doing certain things, or when they see me with those people that I'm doing, and I'm like, I'm not doing
association,
anything.
guilt by association, or Illuminati. You're part of the.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to know what's really funny? I remember seeing people do the one eye thing, or you know, this thing with Batman. Remember Batman used to do the Watusi dance, whatever that was. You know, this one with the upside down.
Yeah.
You know, I saw the Beatles do this. You know,
Yeah.
like I did photo shoots. And I would do one eye thing.
You know, I did too.
But I'm not one eye.
No.
That's not my,
No.
you know, baffle, whatever it meant, you know.
Well, I draw and I paint. So I'll paint stuff and they're like, oh, that's an Illuminati
Yes.
symbol. I'm like, no,
It's
it
a
isn't.
pentagram. It's a star.
I just
you know?
painted it.
I didn't put it upside down. And
Yeah.
if I did, I'm sorry. I don't
Yeah,
want to
but you're not
offend
trying to
anyone.
do that.
No, and then the Saturn.
So
I
how
was
do you
obsessed
know?
with Saturn.
How do you know what to believe? And I would like our audience to know this. A lot of stuff that you guys think are true. It's not. And then the gossip. I mean, we just met with Lady Gaga's producer. We had one of the other ones at our house last week. Just
I
so
have a
everyone
friend
knows,
who's a friend of hers, and I was like, I've heard a lot of things, but even she does stuff that like begs to question.
yeah, I don't know if it's true or not.
Like
but here's
the Marina Abramovich lady, an incredible artist. I saw stuff when she was younger that was just very moving. She just sat at a table and would look in the eyes of the person and like incredible, just staring into each other's eyes. Then her ex-husband shows up and it was like, oh my God. I mean, it was just like powerful, like the history. I was like, this woman's a genius. But then you look into other stuff and you hear spirit cooking. I'm like, you know,
do you
I don't
think
know.
some of it's true?
It has to be.
That's so sad to
Some
me.
of it has to be true.
But can I
the
say
question
this,
is how much of it, because a lot of it is exaggerated. Because if I may just finish this train of thought, like the intelligence agencies came up with the concept of conspiracy theorist and theory to hide some of the facts that
I know
they
that.
didn't want
Yeah.
to be. So if you put the truth and you throw it in a garbage bin, and it looks like everything else that's garbage, all you have to do is like a straw man argument. Oh, yeah, you prop that person up, you knock them down. They go, see, there's nothing to that. The truth could be right there. You pick something up next to it. He goes, this isn't true. And you throw it. It's just this.
I think there's truth in it. But the problem is you don't know what's true and what isn't and what people have made up.
And they say the devil mixes the truth with lies.
It's caused chaos.
And that's why I think sometimes I'm an over-explainer.
I think it's half.
Because I want you to know the full story.
You want everyone to know the full story.
All the details. Like not just half and then somebody else can fill in.
Because half-truths cause chaos.
Half-truths are sometimes worse than full lies.
Yeah.
Because they come with a patina of credibility. The truth part makes you go, well, yeah, if that's true, then I guess that must be true. And that's how con artists work.
That's how con artists work.
You know how you know where the word con artist come from? What I think? Confidence.
Well, yeah,
win
and
your
they make up
confidence.
more details about a lie that you're like, that was.
But they con you because they earn your confidence and they're so confident in what they're saying.
You believe them.
You buy it.
Yeah.
But
I think that impacts your industry almost more than anything, because in your industry, people
fake it till you make it.
No, it's not just that. You guys everyone's watching what you're doing, and they want to watch what you're doing, and you're gifted at that to get to where you are. But some of the even half-truths maybe give you more recognition. Does that make sense? Because everyone's talking about it. But in the end...
As long as you spell my name right, I don't care what you say. They say no publicity. They go, all publicity is good publicity.
My grandmother even used to tell me that. At least people are talking about you, Christina. And I'm like, really?
But there's a positive aspect to that. You know, you're living rent-free in their minds. But it's what they think about you that sometimes can kill you, too. You know, perception is very powerful.
Well,
in
I
this
can tell you
industry.
something that someone said about you to me.
Uh-oh.
They were like, "So you know him?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've met him.
Not biblically, but
Not biblically."
yes.
I know. And I'm like, "Yeah, he's such a great person." They're like, "Well, why does he always play the villain?" I go,
Oh.
"Because he's good at it." And they're
I'm
like,
Latino
"What?"
too. It helps. Swarthy features, you know. I have what they call resting bitch face.
It's interesting when I watch you, though. I'm like, he's really good at this. He is. I know your heart, and I know the person that you are. And so my comment is, he's an amazing person, and he's really great at that aspect of acting.
Somebody has to play the bad guy,
Somebody has to.
right?
And I going back to your point, and I loved your answer. There's good and bad in all of us. The truth is, you could take me to a dark side, right, where I think of things I don't like or people that have hurt me, that maybe
Or hurt your loved ones.
or help.
That-
That really takes me there.
Oh my God. You know, we could put ourselves aside. You F with somebody that you raised, that you care about, that you would die for.
It's not even that. I got to tell you, like if someone says they've hurt a child,
Yeah.
for
no,
me,
no.
you
Dude.
hurt a
Or somebody, yeah.
10, 11-year-old child.
Anyone.
I've got a problem with that. Yeah.
A 60-year-old child.
Or an older, or an older person, or a person,
Anyone. People used to say, you should never hit a woman. I go, yeah, but let's take that all the way.
What about you should never hit a man?
You should never hit anyone.
No.
You should never hit another fellow human being with.
Which brings us back to, but we were disciplined as children, and I don't feel like I'm a bad person because I was disciplined as children, or my parents were bad.
No, and here's
But
the thing.
but I'm glad I didn't discipline like. With each child, you had a daughter. With each of my children, I disciplined less to the point that when my younger two,
Well, you got better at it. You
I got-
realized you're more
what am I
efficient
doing?
in your discipline.
Yeah.
And sometimes a good look,
or sometimes taking the keys away, or the money, or the credit card
just
works.
doing. Yeah, just stop. Like, yeah, no, it's so funny. I have 5 branches of thoughts talking to you, and I go down one. I'm like, oh, I forgot about this one.
I could talk to you forever.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, and
I'm a huge fan.
and my biggest challenge is when you have a child that you love so much, you want to give them everything, but by giving them everything, you rob them of necessity.
Yeah.
You rob them of learning how to be self-reliant.
But it's still hard.
Learning how to self-soothe is another thing. I've heard
Yeah.
about that. That's where kids go into drugs and stuff, when they're always given a pacifier, when they're always given a screen,
Money, or yeah.
a phone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my daughter, I gave her a phone, and I regret it sometimes because it's just, they're gone. And I'm like, I was in my 40s, but when they, invented that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, lay off of it. Okay.
It's
That's right.
addictive.
It is, and as an adult, it's really hard to tell them, lay off your phone as you scroll your own phone.
I know.
I'm like, oh my God.
Well,
what a
because our
hypocrite.
lives are on the phones now.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
but you know what I said? I said, are you making money? Are you learning something? Are
Yeah,
you,
that's what I said to
Are
my
you
kids.
saving someone's
Yeah.
life? Are you helping someone out? I mean, watch what you consume and how much time you spend, because I notice you're not writing as much, you're not drawing as much, you're not creating as much. You're just, he said, she said, or, putting 1,000 emojis of a silly face. Like, I said, be a child, but don't just be a child.
Yeah.
Strive for, I think the thing was when we came up, more was expected of you as a teenager.
Yeah. Oh, I had to, I can tell you, I had to work. I had to play sports. I had to be involved.
Right.
It was constant. I was regulated. I didn't have a life. Like, I remember the first date I went on, I was 17.
Wow.
And my dad followed me to the movie theater.
And was Clayton
He had no,
there?
it was not Clayton. He was way too young.
No, but you guys seem, wow, yeah, that's great.
My dad had this small pea green truck. I will never forget.
Oh.
Pea green. So imagine, like lime green truck. I grew up on a farm,
Okay.
small town. And I remember walking outside. My mother said, if he puts his hand on your knee, then something may happen. So don't let him put his hand on your knee. And he did during the movie. So I didn't get to eat. We had popcorn and like Crunch a Bunch. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, started sweating. Like he's going to do something.
Yeah.
He didn't.
He put his hand on your knee, now I'm with child. Oh no.
I was like, oh no, what's happening? And then my dad's little truck was outside. It was 9 o'clock. I had to be home at 9:15, between
Oh,
9:15 and 9:30. But with your dad following you home,
Yeah, not much is going to happen.
I remember that Jimmy said, do you want to get some ice cream? I'm like, no,
Take me home. You done crossed that line, brother.
Yeah, so I was monitored. Like, I had to tell you, growing up, like, I had to get up sometimes 5:30 in the morning and work. I didn't get to just go out.
What about sleepovers?
I got to have sleepovers, not with boys.
Oh no, but
No.
I'm saying even girls' sleepovers.
It was a big deal. I had to clean up. I had to have everything done, and then
But how old were you when you had your first sleepovers where your parents weren't there, where you're in the house of other parents? Like, I'm dealing with this issue, It's like, well, you can spend the whole day. And
how old is your daughter?
13.
No, my parents didn't let us do that.
Yeah, right?
I think the first time I did a sleepover without my parents was probably 17 or 18.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I'm just being honest.
Well,
But now
she's
my
had
kids have been raised a
sleepovers
little bit different.
with people that we've known for years, with the kids that they grew up with.
But you can
so
when I was
different.
being, I don't know what your life was like, but I was babysitting, spending the
Chaos.
night at 12 years old.
You were babysitting.
So I was babysitting other kids at the age of 12.
Yeah.
And now I think about it from a common sense perspective. I was there till 1 or 2 in the morning. Sometimes the parents didn't get back till the next morning, and I babysat them. But yet, I wasn't allowed to be alone with other people without parents until I was older. But my kids, I would say, were probably 15, 16 when I allowed that.
Yeah, and the
It's
thing
different
is,
now.
But it's a risk. You never know. It's not like tragedy or untoward things happen with announcements.
No.
You think anybody who's been victimized or traumatized or even it's just such a tough thing, because part of what makes you who you are is the suffering in your life.
I know. That's what's tough about it.
And so you
But you don't want your kids to go through things that
but
are horrific.
if they don't go through some things, they become marshmallows.
I know. But you don't want to.
And then you put them out into the world, they crumble sometimes. And it's like, well, they're going to crumble as teenagers or when they go off to college and then don't know how to regulate their drinking and copy their friends. It's like, these are the things that keep me up, like going,
Well, I don't think you want them. Like, for me, I wasn't allowed to drink. And then I went to college, and of course I did drink. You know what I mean?
you drink.
I did. And it was a shock to me because I had no exposure really to it.
That's right.
So with my kids, I thought about it a little bit different. But I want to tell you the laws, for example, in states now, like you're talking about your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
In Tennessee, you can't leave your kids when they're that age legally, or they'll take your kids away.
Well, now. But
Now,
in
it didn't used to
France-
be that way. Like when I was raised, there was no rules about that. You did whatever.
Yeah, you came in at night. You let your kids out. Now it's called neglect or abandonment. If you
Well,
let your kids play outside.
And I was going to say, I was allowed to come home and play outside until who knows when. In our town, we were outside all the time.
But see, that's when you learn most on your own.
Yeah,
When you're not
at
constantly
night, yeah.
having a parent helicoptering above you, hovering, going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?"
It was so different back then.
Yeah, but I just saw a meme that said in France, kids drank with their meals, like in certain European countries.
In Greece,
wine.
they're 12 years old and they'll go get
No,
wine.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
like children drank wine, like 6, 7, 8.
Well, Italy still.
A little,
Yeah.
but it's because they knew how to do it, where it wasn't because about getting,
No.
knackered, as they say.
No.
you
And
know?
now it's turned into this black or white thing where in some states you can serve your own kids alcohol but not other children because
That's your responsibility.
and it's the religious, and then in other states if you even gave your child a glass of wine when they were 18, 19 years old, you'd go to jail.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre how the United States is about that.
And the thing is, what is right and what is wrong? Right? How do you define that?
I don't think you have a right or wrong answer, but I do think that you have to expose your kids to things and be there to help them rather than just throwing them out and they've never been exposed to anything. I do agree with
Right.
you about that. And I also think that discipline is okay, but abuse isn't. So that's where
It could be a thin line, though.
it is, but I never ever disciplined my kids in anger. I don't know. I know that sounds bizarre,
No,
but
of
I would
course.
sit and pray and think about it and then discipline. So I don't know if it makes it better, but that's how I discipline. I never ever lost my temper and disciplined at that moment.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's good for you.
But I think a lot of that was because of my psychology background and being in school.
Yeah.
Because if you ask me where did I get that, it's from classes before I had children.
Well, and it's smart. I mean, I felt like having a dog for 13, 14 years was a bit of a training ground, even though children are
Oh,
not
yeah.
pets.
But still
But
it is.
you could
Yeah.
take your temper out on your dog when they eat a pair of expensive shoes or your date's shoes or something
Yeah.
like. I remember my dog ate
Or they use the
$700.
bathroom inside.
One of
Yeah.
the $700 pair of shoes of this very, very beautiful lady and I was just like, "Oh, what have you done?" And they do things, and
Yeah.
you have to regulate
Yeah.
your emotional outburst.
I think men, though, traditionally have more of a temper than women. That's my personal
That's a
belief.
sexist statement.
That is a sexist statement. So that's a sexist statement. Maybe
No,
I'm
but
wrong.
some men do, some men don't. Some
But there's
men are
some
just,
women that have a
there you
very
go.
bad temper.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Yeah.
It takes a lot to push me there.
Yeah. My thing is like, okay, you let that out now. You realize that was kind of mean, Okay, I'm calling it out now because when I do it, you don't like to hear it. So let me just tell you what you just did now. Just follow me here. It's okay. You got it out of your system. What I don't like is, and then boom. So get it out of your system, but don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
When I play tennis, and then people are like, "Oh, you told me not to." You're like, "Yeah, I didn't break my racket. I didn't I'm frustrated for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
I let it go, and I have a statement. I go, get better, not bitter.
So
We're-
you're a really good tennis player now.
No, I'm getting better.
You're getting better. I love tennis.
Real tennis players are levels.
I know.
Multiple
Yeah.
levels. Went to Wimbledon and just you watch Djokovic, you watch, all these like masters of
Yeah.
tennis, and you're like, how is that humanly possible?
Yeah, we actually have a couple of famous tennis players because of Zero In that are using our products.
Really?
Yeah. We have some fencers. We have some swimmers now. We have golfers, basketball.
And how soon before performance do you?
They do it about 30 minutes before.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
take one or two, or they
So a
dose?
lot of them are taking it in the morning, and then they're doing like.
I take one in the morning for the day.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that before. I do one. I know other people are like, I take 4. I take 1, but they've noticed it is increasing their reflex time. So we've had really good results. We have basketball teams. We partnered with Coach Prime, so at University of Colorado. So we are doing some stuff with those college athletes,
Nice.
and really trying to help because it's natural and it's not like Ritalin, and other
No.
things that people. It's not an amphetamine.
I try to tell people when you take something that's an excito,
Yeah.
it's what's a stimulant.
Stimulant, yeah.
There's always a crash
Yeah, always.
unless you're taking something that's a nutrition based,
Yeah,
and it fills in your gaps. The gaps
Right.
in that whatever's making you tired, it's for a reason.
right.
And when you replace those minerals, then you get a different kind of energy that's not. It's not.
Well, like I have energy, and I know you do too. Like I would say that probably my personality needs to be calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
Like I have so much of but Zero In for me just keeps me like this all day. It doesn't like bring me up. Like I can't drink, for example, and I know we have Rahm roast and everything, but I can't drink more than 1 cup of coffee. If I drink a cup of coffee a day, I just can't. But I can take a supplement that will really help me.
What do you take for energy if you don't want to do too much coffee?
I take
Besides-
Zero In. And
for energy?
Not energy, but just to keep me
Mental clarity, I think.
mental clarity
Focus.
for me and focus for me. And then Crush has really been a game changer for me because of the peptides and the aminos. In fact, you can take that if you want when you leave today. But the Crush, because your aminos and your peptides from the day you're born, like even in your skin, like I don't want to do fillers. I just don't want to. So I did a V cell treatment with.
What's V cell?
So V cells are like your smallest cells that you can direct.
V or V?
V.
Okay.
They can basically.
What is it for? A vital cell? What does it mean? V.
It's part of your stem cells, and it basically is in your system, but you have to spin it to really direct it. And there's a couple of doctors in the United States and worldwide that have the ability to really direct V cells through certain technology to areas of your body. It's
Right.
very rare. We deal with a doctor, Dr. Todd, that I actually met through Procter and Gamble, and then ran into him at the Vatican, to be honest. And he and I started talking, and I was interested in basically overall body remediation, longevity, as well as in my face, because I don't want to do.
Yeah, artificial.
I don't really want to do that, and so it's actually helped me. And then I came up with Crush, which I had worked with on different patents that I had developed to try to, because I did the reversal of aging, and not just reversal, but also the anti-aging. But I wanted to do more than just help you live 3 years longer.
Right.
I wanted to do something that would actually impact the cells. And I can't make claims when it comes to nutraceuticals.
Yeah.
He actually can't make claims when it comes to B cells, but that's been one of the paths that I've
What's
had.
the rumors? What are the supposedly false claims, or what's the exaggerated claims? What do people who would, let's say, break the law, what would they claim
About my products? Or
about
other,
V-Cell and your products?
the reversal of aging.
Seems
of the
like
cells.
a planted question, doesn't it?
Was
Why are your products so wonderful?
Well, I mean, honestly, I have the patents that get rid of lectin in plants and seeds and oils and roots. And lectin is basically the poison that's in everything we have that, yes, can be used for chemotherapy, like you find it in apricot seeds, right? But the truth is now
There's
because...
lectin in apricots? I thought it was
No, there's lectin.
interferon and what do you call it?
There's that too, but...
B17. There's a word for it.
B17, but there's also
Yeah,
lectin.
Laetril. Is it No. What's
There's
Laetril?
leucine that's in
Yeah,
it.
but there's another word for B17 that's a very scientific word. Is it
There's
not Laetril, is it?
leucine.
Leucine? Okay.
Yeah, leucine. I have a pronunciation. That's what I think you're...
But there's another word that I'm like, oh yeah, that's B17. Everything has a euphemism or a different
Well, there's
name for it.
riboflavin, which is your iron part of
But
that.
that's a B vitamin.
Yeah.
Right? B6 or 3?
B6 and 12, but they have it in the, like riboflavin, I can't say it right, kind of goes across the B vitamins.
Now, what does ribo mean? Because it's similar to ribosome. Like, what's the root there?
Yeah,
The root.
the root of the name.
See what I did there?
Yeah, it's basically signaling how that particular vitamin mineral is impacting the body. Yeah, so because you're different pathways, and that's how they named it. That's one of the ways the pharmaceutical industry, like if you look at the pharma products, they're using different things like riboflavin or even like a turmeric curcumin, like different things that go into the base of the product, and then they use synthetics. So the problem is your
So
body.
then they could say it's theirs, like they can patent it.
Yeah, so they change the name.
Right.
So like if you look at like
And the
vitamin
formulation, basically.
Right. So, like, you can't patent, for example,
Nature.
vitamin C,
No.
right?
Anything natural is
So you
not,
have to
yeah.
change the name. But really, there's nutraceuticals like Crush and Sculpt are pharmaceuticals in some countries, but they're nutraceuticals here.
And what's the difference between nutra and pharmaceutical?
So pharmaceuticals typically use a synthetic. However, there can be a natural substance where you, again, are altering it a little bit. That's a pharmaceutical.
There's a Greek word, pharmakia, which means like witchcraft or some sort of like sorcery.
Because you're basically taking something that's natural and changing it.
Right.
But I'll give you an example. Some of the key ingredients that I have, like even in Clean Slate, I had to really do a lot of different formulations to take the silica out because a zeolite in some countries is a pharmaceutical. And so sometimes a country will classify a specific ingredient like a zeolite or clino, and they'll say this is a pharmaceutical agent. And in fact, it is a little bit because a zeolite makes things work better, right? It actually can make a drug work better. So let's say you were taking something for your cholesterol, right? A zeolite can help that product work even better, but I didn't use any synthetics in
So
what
it's
I've
an
done.
adjuvant of sorts?
Yeah.
Or, yeah. Let me ask you.
It's like an agent that helps. Like I describe it as,
supercharger?
I can't say that my products go past the brain barrier because if they go past a brain barrier, they're a pharmaceutical, right? So there's another clarification. But let's say I want to work on a nutraceutical and
But
I
can't
want
vitamins go past the blood-brain
Yeah.
barrier? Okay.
Yeah.
But keep going. I'm sorry.
And so let's say that zeolites have a type of propeller on it that would cause something to go past the brain barrier if you're trying to clean up the brain. But I can't make that claim.
But
Yeah.
isn't zeolite very, you have to be very careful?
Very careful.
Because
there's some zeolites and some formulas out there that I think are not safe.
they're not safe. They have a
Yeah.
lot of aluminum.
They do.
because They,
So I take it out.
They draw
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. And if you take something that's full of whatever you're trying
Yeah.
to get out of your body, you actually could be putting it in.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I want to just say this because I know they keep doing this to me. Sorry. A lot of the products that I make, the importance of how I make them are because I take the poison out and I take the toxins out. And if you ask me how much of our environment, our plants, our trees, and everything around us have, toxins, almost everything now.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel scared, so I don't talk about it a lot. Like we share our DNA with a leaf on a tree, right?
Sure.
Well, pollution and nuclear waste have been put on this earth, and the components of that chemically, for people to think those aren't impacting our body or this plant, they're wrong.
Right.
But to cause a series of anxiety or stress for everyone is not what I want to do. So instead, I did the patents to detoxify the land, air, and water, and the people and pets. And that's why everyone's always like, why are you meeting with this president or prime minister? Because they care about their body and they care about their country.
And their people, yeah.
And their people, and we're doing different things to help it. And I would say that's where there's no con artistry when it comes to me. I don't think I have the best products. I think I have really good products. So I'm thankful that God gave me the ability to understand how to take toxins out of a body. Because here's what I think: if you can take the poison and the bad out of your body so your cells aren't dying as quick, and so that you clean your cells up, then you have a better quality of life.
And this is why I think I have so much energy. I mean, like, you'll ask my friends, I could play tennis. I played tennis twice this last summer for 8 hours straight at one point.
I knew that because you told me that on a text that you were
8
playing tennis. That's why I
hours
asked.
straight. Not that I play that well, but, after this amount of time, I've got to get better. So I've picked better people to play with so that my form will improve in my game. But I have so much energy, I almost don't know what to do with it. It's like I have so much life force. I have to be careful not to get in trouble. So getting back to your original question, why do I play a lot of bad guys? I guess I exercise my demons in that sense. And I also have to be careful not to bring it home with me.
That's so interesting. That's what I would have thought you would have answered.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
You got to pray. You got to think. You got to just not just take physical showers, but spiritual showers.
Oh, absolutely.
And you got to ask for forgiveness. You got to ask for strength and guidance.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to tell the story of Adam and Eve, somebody's got to play the snake.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do that part. And to do it credibly, you have to have somebody who's been there, I think. And I've been there. And I think the good thing about having gone through pain and having been human and sinned and erred is that you can take it and help others not have to do the same thing. Do you know? It's like drug taking in the 60s. And I'll finish with this analogy. You don't want your kids to do the drugs you did as a teenager. No. Let's just say if you did. But I'm grateful for the musicians and the artists whose pain took them there and brought back such incredible music from the psychedelic era that I go, listen, kids, you want to do drugs? Listen to this music. Meditate, breathe deep. And you'll actually have the same effect without hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's a way to go. Astronauts go to space to bring us back something.
Yeah.
If space really exists, as they say it does.
Yeah.
Explorers go and come back. You see a museum. Why is a museum interesting? Because somebody went where you couldn't go, and they brought this back so you can marvel at it right there, right in front of you. Look, son, daughter, ma, wow. So I go through emotional places so I can bring it back to the people who are watching. Don't have to go in the gutter.
And I think it's a gift that you're doing that.
I hope so. I hope
it is.
I'm not abusing it. Again,
you're not abusing it.
You just want to make sure that what you do doesn't exacerbate the problem. Doesn't glorify it.
No. Anything I've seen you do, it does not glorify it. It actually gives you a viewpoint of maybe why it happens and maybe why it shouldn't happen. As that's what I feel when I watch you as an actor.
Thank you.
I think.
But I have to be careful, though. I am conscious that I'm not making evil cool, because there's something when say, yeah, you're a badass. A lot of people like the bad guy better, and so I don't want to promote that artificially, like, yeah, screw you mentality.
I don't think you do.
I like him. He just says it like it is, when in fact that's not very considerate. I don't want to promote negativity.
You're not doing that. So. You're not doing that. You're an amazing actor, and you're an amazing person.
No, thank you.
You really are. And
Takes
I mean
one
that.
to know one.
Well, thank you. So we'll do this again. I want to. Are you guys going to the magic show tonight? No.
No, but now you're making me. No, I've got this dinner with these like royal type peoples from some place that people want me to meet, and this spiritual leader, this incredible Indian spiritual leader that I met, and has.
Who is it? It's not Sadhguru.
No, but has such a beautiful presence and energy. Gurudev, Sri Ravi Shankar, who's the same name as the sitarist, and
I wonder if because I've spoken
it's
now.
about world peace. Like this guy's
Yeah.
got like 500 million followers, and
Is he
breathing,
short with long?
yes,
I bet because I spoke at the
big
World.
eyes, just very like, he's just a darling human being.
I think I spoke on stage with him. I'll have to show you the picture at the World Economic Forum. Not this year, but the year
I
before.
think so. I think
Yeah.
he did because he has a world conference and like million
Yeah.
people show up. And, like,
Because when I
hundreds of
met
thousands.
him, I was like, "Oh, is it Sadhguru?" And I think he has even more followers than Sadhguru.
Probably, but you
Yeah.
know, again, I'm not into the size of the following because those can be
No, but
manipulated.
if it's the man that I spoke with, and I think that's who it is, he was such a kind, gentle
Sweet,
spirit.
very gentle
Yeah.
soul, yes. And he says they go to prisons and they like work this breath work and conscious and meditating. And he goes, I don't see perpetrators, you know. He goes, I see people who are wounded, you know.
That's so true.
And it's really true. That's my bad guys. I don't play them like evil. I play them as I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
Why? Because somebody has some sort of reason.
So anger and
Anger.
Well, I watched the movie. I know that they're telling me to wrap up. I'm sorry. I've watched the movie. What was it? 52-7. It was. I forgot what it's called. It's where they run in the prison. Have you seen that?
Oh, no, I've
You've got to
heard of it.
watch it. It's a movie about basically prisoners that they let run the Boston Marathon.
Wow.
And it was fascinating to me because it brought each of their stories. They were in for life. And it brought each of their stories about why they were in there, and like you just fall in love with them.
Of course.
And they've done some things that we
Heinous.
consider horrible, but they tell their story and why it happened.
And
what
they
happened
become
to them,
human.
and they become human.
And they're not as easy to then go, kill them all.
no
Death
not,
penalty.
Not at all.
You did that, you should die. I don't take that attitude.
No,
Even
no.
though you want to kill people because it's the instinct to protect someone, especially with children, you know.
It was interesting to me because I've been through physical abuse. I've been through things in my life.
I'm so sorry about
No, it's okay. But I watched one of the men that actually beat his wife so much that their baby died.
Oh my God.
And his story, it really touched me. It brought another element to me to understand things. He, of course, regrets it. He's never going to get over it. He actually I know this is going to sound odd.
He was a good
but he's a
guy.
good human being. Yeah, he just made a lapse in judgment.
Yeah, and there are good people with really bad habits.
But it taught me something, Esai, because it taught me, again, to remember forgiveness and non-judgment.
Yeah.
Right? Because our instinct is to judge and then to think we're better, and that's not accurate. We're all on this journey, and it's hard for everyone. And you and I are very fortunate, regardless of our past. We are in positions which aren't perfect, but we get a lot of advantages.
We get blessings.
Blessings every day, and not everyone gets those blessings. And
I think you and I, if I may, we make room for our blessings.
yeah, we do.
The glass isn't too full with us.
No.
You always keep some humility that says, the more I know I don't know.
Isn't that the truth? The more people I meet, the more I realize how I have been wrong in the past and how I need to change.
Yeah.
And it helps me. Even today, the podcast helped me. Living in Nashville, it's a pretty, I want to use the word religious place. And just opening my heart and understanding different beliefs and different processes, I think is so important. And it humbles me every day because I get to meet people that they're like, oh, they just taught me something I didn't know. Yeah.
You allow for it, and that
Yeah.
makes you beautiful.
Thank you. It makes you beautiful, too. I'm very thankful to know you. Thank you, Esai.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It makes me cry almost every time I talk to you.